Well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 1 of Unhinged. We are getting ready to bring you the newest show here in America, and I'm joined by two of the greatest and hardest working guys in American rugby, and then the hardest working guy in American rugby, Lance Kavanaugh. But this is Unhinged, episode 1. We are bringing you something new, something exciting, something that the rugby community needs. And as you see on this screen right here, we have over to my left, right, I don't know which way that's going, but we got Pago Haini, we got Thomas Wheels Grant, and then we got Lance Kavanaugh, Great American Rugby, No Flop Sports right in there, coming in as well too. But what is this show? What is it, do you say? Well, honestly, we don't really know what it is. This is a show that we're going to be bringing to you live, maybe every week, maybe every other week. I don't know. We'll come down to it. We'll see what your reaction is and what you want. But basically, this is a show for us to go unhinged, say what we want, really come into it, and get a perspective. Unique perspective from all of us here is that we all are working in the rugby community, and all of us are making a career one way or the other off of rugby. And isn't that living the dream? And what does living the dream mean? I don't know. Well, we'll find out, and we got some good stuff. But first, let's just go ahead and stop listening to me blather on about what's going on, and let's get right into it. Wheels, the man, free jack of all trades, Wheels. Tell me a little bit about yourself, buddy. What you doing here, and what are you doing in America, man?
Jeez, Ginty, you're pumping my tyres nice and early, and I love it. Absolutely love it. Nah, good job putting this together, and I will say I enjoyed the B-roll there. You had rugby B-roll, and then you just had a random guy singing karaoke in a bar. So,
Matt McCarthy.
I don't want to let that slip past you.
Poor Matt. Poor Matt. I tell you, Pago's actually done some epic karaoke himself in down in St. Louis with some Mr. McCarthy.
Absolutely, yeah. That's for later in the show anyway. I know Pago's got some great stories about that. But, nah, mate, as you said, living the American dream, moved over here for what I thought was just going to be 1 year and done. And it's turned into 3.5, heading on 4 years next year. 20 to 25 pounds heavier thanks to long ingredients lists in America. But the rugby here is thriving. Loving Major League Rugby, love the community rugby. And we've got some great stories to tell, I'm sure, throughout this the show. So let's get unhinged and let's get into it.
Yeah, we'll get unhinged, but first let's talk about the Free Jacks, two-time champions. You took Pago's opportunity of getting three of those rings and 3 tattoos away from him this past year. But just what's it like working for the Free Jacks and working here in America?
Yeah, apologies, Pago. I didn't play much on-field role in making that happen. But nah, look, it was a hard-fought final out there in San Diego, and I think definitely the top 2 teams deserve to be there. But nah, I love working for the Free Jacks. So I think Mags, our CEO, has got such a creative, really, I guess, entrepreneurship mindset, and that I think comes out to what the Free Jacks are now as a brand. And we really put our community first, and we really care about our people, whether that's a player or a fan or even a staff member. Pretty fortunate in my role to get out around New England and meet the wonderful, New England rugby community and the wacky fans that we have out there. But Pago, you've played at our Fort Quincy, and you know what an environment that could be. And it's not just the footy on the field; it's the beers flowing in the stands. It's the the boisterous fans giving it to you, I'm sure. But yeah,
second loudest crowd in Major League after Seawall.
The Seawall, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. You guys definitely like to drink the beers, and I believe in the open of this show, the first thing we start off with is a boat race where your fans beat some San Diego fans at back when the final was here. 2 years ago? 2 finals ago here in Chicago and all that. So Pago, a man that actually started your MLR journey in New England. So look at that. We got some, and I claim New England as well too as helping build my business. So it's look at this, the Free Jacks tree just running through Unhinged right here, right? Get it going. But Pago, tell us a little bit about yourself, man, and what you got going on, and great career, great MLR career, been across, seen a lot of different outfits, a lot of different teams. Now applying your trade in Seattle, up there in the Pacific Northwest with Rucky the Seawolf. And let's say you took a championship away from Seattle, and now you're in Seattle. So go ahead, tell us a little bit about yourself, bud.
Yeah, so obviously Pango, short for Pango Hokma Tai Aomua. It's a bit of a tongue twister. I think my parents got a bit excited when I was born, so they gave me a sentence instead of just a name. But I'll take that. And yeah, so moved there in America, 2016. End of 2016. Moved over here, spent a year or two down in Chula Vista with the Sevens, and then 2018, the Major League Rugby started up. So, and obviously there's big body, there's a lot of fats in there. I couldn't really handle the Sevens. The training's down in San Diego, so I was like, oh, I might as well pack up my bags, move to Houston for the first year of Major League, and then moved up to New England, Boston with the Free Jacks on their first season, but they didn't play in the Major League. We just did like the Irish games with all the Irish teams that came over. And then after the Free Jacks, went down to the LA Guillotines for a season, and then ventured out to the Northeast again.
That must have been rough going to LA and the Guillotines. That must have been a horrible assignment working.
It was a tough year. It was very tough down in LA with the Guillotines, but it was probably one of the best years of Major League Rugby, and personally one of the best years I've had so far in terms of career wise, and then obviously in New York went under, as you all know, so ended up here in Seattle, up in the Pacific Northwest. Not too sunny, but I'll take the rain anyway. So yeah, so that's how and I was lucky enough, as we all know, that we all kind of met through rugby, and then here we are, just unhinging. It's gonna be fun. I'm looking forward to it. Just chopping it out with the boys and talk rugby and all that, and it's gonna be very unhinged, I assume. So hopefully we don't get take off YouTube or Facebook after this first episode. So
yeah, let's I mean, when your boss is you're accountable to me. You can say whatever the bleep you want, right? Like, I'll try and keep the F-bombs to a minimum. We got a counter over here. We might go overboard. I'm actually going to try not to use any of the F-bombs. I'm going to try and curtail myself and talk like an intelligent individual, which is extremely hard for a thick-headed Polak like myself. So I am Irish. I claim Irish, but also, sometimes the Polish side takes over, you know what I mean? But, being Polish does have its advantages. I've can get hit in the head multiple times, and I just keep moving forward, which is sometimes a valuable trait when you're a flanker or an inside center playing rugby. But you've got those two guys there, that are playing. Pago the professional, then you got Wheels over there. Wheels, you're playing your trade now as a number 9, a yappy little mother coming out of playing for the Boston Irish Wolfhounds. Thing I will throw some shade Boston Irish Wolfhounds way. Pago, you've been there because you actually played the Free Jacks. What was that, Munster? I think at that facility. Was it Munster? I believe when we did the broadcast for the Cara Cup.
Yeah, we did. We played Munster at the Irish. Was it
Cultural
Irish
Center?
Community?
The Irish Cultural Center. And so let me tell you, I was playing with New London County, a D3 team. This is when I first started playing rugby. I was so excited. Going to the social, I'm a college kid, I was a sophomore at the time. I'm like, all right, great. I get to drink free beer with all the men afterwards. This is the greatest thing ever. And then wouldn't you know it that the ICC, they don't give you free beer. I don't know if that's changed, but you have to buy your own beer at the drink ups there, bud. And that was something to where I was so irate and so upset because, I was planning on having a couple of fizzes, a couple of pops there, feeling nice and loose, recovering some of my injuries. And then, the $3.86 of change I had in my account didn't really get me much at that bar. But, I will say that is a top-class facility. Irish Cultural Center is great. It's a great team. Awesome to see that you're playing their wheels, and awesome to see that they're reviving their program because, they lost, in the semifinals last year in the D2 National Championship in Austin, correct?
Yeah, correct. Yep, lost in the semis down in Austin. The team's doing well in the NERFU Division 2. I think we're 6-0 at the moment, playing Portland next week. But as you said, we're pretty fortunate the ICC is a world-class facility. I don't know if it was a Ryan Ginty problem. I haven't had to buy a beer there yet.
People like you, that's why.
You, but maybe you've just got to, have a better hairline on you, but that might be the thing. But
Yeah.
The accent, 2 years under the
Correct, but
ICC.
exactly. It's got a great Guinness, good curry and chips, really underrated curry and chips. I don't know if you've ever had a curry and fry, but that hits really hard after an 80-minute game of footy. But yeah, the Wolfhounds are tracking well. I had itchy feet, Ginty. I had to get back out there. I just couldn't stand watching the boys run around out on the field any longer. I just had to get myself out there. Yeah, managing a bit of a tight quad at the moment, so I have to get into the masseuse tomorrow and get that looked at. But hey.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that about rugby that's actually like, it's the only sport to where you can actually go out and play competitively and then go watch professional sports, or go out and play competitively and then work for a professional sports organization. You really can't do that with football. Basketball, maybe you can play some good rec leagues, you can do something like that. But like rugby is really that sport where you can go out, you can lay it on the line, you can continue to play, you can be an idiot like myself at 43, continue to play, get headbutted by Luke Hume and get stitches and all that fun stuff, keep it going. It's really, I think it's great. But like, let's transition into the life of a professional rugby player. Pago, we'll start with you. I really kind of like, what is it like to be a professional rugby player in America?
It's, personally, I think for myself, it's definitely a blessing, and it's a dream come true, especially growing up, down the southern hemisphere. Rugby in Australia and New Zealand and even Samoa, where I'm from, it's that's what you grow up wanting to do, and obviously got the opportunity to move over here. Now I'm doing it as a job. Rugby's got it's got a long way to go in America. So there's a lot of sacrifices and a lot of things that comes with being a professional in America. As we all know, the money, we'll get there in terms of like players earning and things like that. And Major League is still a brand new league. And I think they're trying to learn from old mistakes where they just go straight in right from the get-go and try and throw as much money in as soon as they can. But I think what they've learned is doing that. But as a professional, I think especially with Major League, it's such a unique experience because you get to travel all over America. You get to see like different states, different cities. For someone that's not from America and for someone that's came here, going to a different state for a normal American person, that's just going to another city in America. But for us coming over here, going from Seattle to Texas is like completely two different countries. And like going from Texas up to New York, or like to Chicago or down to San Diego, especially early in the season, if you're coming from the northeast where it's snowing, and then you go play San Diego down there in SoCal and it's sunny and hot. So it's like it's all different things that makes this being a professional in America a different unique experience compared to like I can't really talk about other places because I haven't played anywhere other than Australia, New Zealand, and here in America, so I can only speak on that experience. So, but I think we're on the rise. We're heading to the right direction in terms of making the game fully professional all year round, and that. So, it's a unique experience, and I think the ceiling. It's just going to keep going up and up from here on. I believe.
Yeah, I think that you touched on a very good point, right? To where everyone's like, oh, professional sports and, what we got to get and spend the money. But like, if you take it and you look at it, these owners are losing about $4 to $5 million per year, right? To be able to make this happen, right? Like, is it going to be profitable? Yes, it will. Is it going to take time? Yes, it's got to build, you know what I mean? And you have these people that talk, I'm sitting here wearing, a Dallas Jackals team, rest in peace, right? Stuff. And you have people that are like, oh my God, MLR is going to fail. It's the end of the world. The sky's falling. It's like, shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. It's not falling. There are committed owners that have been here from the beginning, right? You play for one right now, Adrian Balfour, right? So like you have people that have been into it, Ryan Patterson's, Marty Powers down in Houston, right? So you have people that are committed to it. Eric Anderson now in New England with the Free Jacks, that are really committed to growing the game. It's going to take a while. This isn't going to be an overnight success. But what we do need to do as fans, like I'm just going to say, like, you just got to be better fans. Stop thinking that the world's coming to an end. Stop talking shit. Like, let's talk about the good things that are happening, and like the good things that are happening, that people are making money, and there's an economy that is growing, that is being built right now as we speak, right? To be able to afford people the opportunities. Could it be better? Yeah. But I mean, like, yeah, it could be better. Yeah. And I mean, there are things that need to be worked out. And I mean, I think there are things that are working out, right? With the players union, I think that's a great step, right? They're doing great things. You know, the new CBA coming up after this season that they'll be talking about. There's some interesting stuff. But to your point, right, you just can't spend the money and spend the money and spend the money, because then there's not going to be anything around to go, right?
Exactly. Yeah, and with that too as well, with like in terms of the money and stuff, I think, it's not so much about the money, but just making the sport fully professional. It impacts the landscape of American rugby so much, because now we can bring in this internet, because we allow 10 international guys, so we can bring in all these amazing international players. And then if we bring in kids through the professional environment and just get them to rub shoulders and just being in the environment, I believe, like, as a professional athlete, I think being in the environment is way better than you just doing your own thing. Because if you're being in an environment with people that's been professional rugby players for 5 to 6 years and played at the highest level from different, leagues around the world, I think that's going to grow the rugby so, so much. Yeah, exactly. Like guys like
So
Fopples,
right.
good, great teammate of mine. Um, you know, Hasbulla. Shout out to Hasbulla if he's watching. Yeah, so kids like that, and not only that, but like kids like John Powers, and then there was like other kids that came through LA when I was with them. Now they're like Cyril Thama. Now it's in the Eagles setup, and I think that making it professional all year round and doing it right will help the sport. And by the time we get that World Cup in 33, we'll be hissing and ready to go, make some upsets.
Yeah, no, that'd be that.
Absolutely.
Looking forward to that. So, like, Wheels, talking about like now, like, what have you had to sacrifice as far as like, you coming in and you having to work here? Just talk about it, right? So you're working full time for the Free Jacks, and full time probably doesn't do you enough justice for how much you actually do work for the Free Jacks. But like, what sacrifices have you made? Just working here in America.
Yeah, I never like to look at it as a sacrifice, because it's a decision. It was a decision that I made. And look, I was a 20-year-old when I moved over here. Wasn't even of legal age to buy a beer yet, so very much just a young, energetic lad jumping at the bit for an overseas experience. So like, obviously family and friends are back home, and that was extremely difficult at first to adjust to, living in another country, and the mannerisms and way people act in Massachusetts is a lot different to New Zealanders. I'll give you the tip on that. But
We got to come back to an example for that, but keep it rolling. But I want an example
yeah.
of that.
I mean it in the nicest way, of course. But no, I mean, like, I haven't looked back. Like, I definitely don't see many things that I've sacrificed, to be honest. I mean, like, there's obviously the lifestyle back home is extremely different. But yeah, I think the biggest thing is just being away from your people that you've grown up with, and your support networks. But fortunate that rugby is a game that can create those all over again. And Pango, I'm sure you know what it's like. Rugby is one big family, and you've got your teammates and your staff members and your extended community. So, yeah, mate. Yeah, that's it in a nutshell, eh? But I'm loving it, and still, I'm 24 now, as I said, so 4 years I've been here almost, and haven't looked back since, and certainly got a few more years in the tank, Ginty.
All right. Well, I'm glad, because we're not letting you go home. If there's any partners out there, prospective partners for Wheels that are Americans, marry them.
Green card.
Yeah,
Well,
That could be our next.
that's what I wanted to get to, right? That's what I wanted
segment.
to get to.
We should have a
So here we
segment
go.
for green card applications for Wales here.
yeah. We'll open it up. We'll put.
Call in of who's wanting to give out green cards for free.
I
don't
am
know.
checking the letterbox every day, and it is unvacant right now. So if you do want to solve that problem, thank you. That'd be a help.
I mean, over here, matchmaker Pago over here. I mean, coming up with it, like doing
Yeah.
stuff.
He's
But
Cupid. He's my Cupid. I need him.
okay, all right. Hey, all right. So Pago, I'm gonna ask you this question here. You're Nick Benson for a day. You're the MLR CEO, and you have zero restrictions and zero financial restrictions. You can do whatever you want. Open checkbook. Make a decision. You know, we're not currently in the situation we're at. It's like perfect. Everything's happening. You can do whatever you want. What would you do as the MLR CEO?
As a player, first off, we need to move off playing on turfs. So, first rule of order will be everyone needs to get grass fields just for the players' safety, and more money goes to the players. Up the salary a little bit, make the players happy. They're the one that's putting their body on the line. So give them a little extra cash, maybe a couple extra zeros at the end there. But and then I think in terms of like actually building and growing the sport, I think having a bit of more bring in, like maybe have like an extra salary cap for development kids. I know we have like most of clubs have got like academies and that, but then those academies are only going for like maybe two or even one sessions a week. So if I was a CEO, I'll be like, hey, I'm going to put a separate salary cap just for kids that you whoever they say the Seawolves, such for kids at the Seawolves, kind of like an extended squad in NFL practice squad, where they have like 5 to 10 kids that if you really think that these kids could make a career out of rugby. So instead of putting them under the salary cap, just bring them in under a different salary cap and just have them exposed through the environment and just let them, learn in the environment day in and day out instead of coming in once a month, or twice a week, things like that. But that's just from what I've been through and what I've experienced and where I'm seeing rugby in the States moving. I think as a CEO, definitely crossfields for everyone, up a little bit of money, and just invest in our future.
Now, Wheels, that seems almost like a perfect transition for you, seeing as though you actually help grow those academy players up in New England, right? You're part of that. Now, as far as like that, you'd also want to up the MLR Academy director's salary too, right, Pago?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, hang on a minute.
extra zero. No.
Yeah. So now flip that over to you, Wheels. In the current environment that we're in right now with Major League Rugby, what we could tangibly do and a change that you could make in the environment that we're currently dealing with, and in just what would you do as CEO for the year 2024 or 2025, because it'll be 25 when we start.
Yeah, geez, that's the $1 million question, Ryan Ginty. I love it. I absolutely love it. I think what you said, like the future of the game is extremely important, and I think the right people are in place for the professional and international game for the Eagles. I think like what Scott Lawrence is doing and the U20s and U18s, like the junior national teams, I honestly think they're in good stead, and I wouldn't really change a lot there. Like obviously there's different things we can do and have those players together more regularly. And there's lots of challenges around that with their collegiate and high school and club programs, which we want to support as well. But I honestly think like, the professional and international side of the game, taking MLR out of the equation, just USA Rugby, I think is in really good stead. Yeah, mate, youth rugby is huge for me. I think there is a massive opportunity over the next 7 years to really build and support the amazing youth organizations that we have around America. And I can only speak for Massachusetts. Like there is some sensational work going on to try and get kids involved with this great game of rugby union, and I feel like it's very much a small fish in a big pond at the moment, right? We're competing with these mainstream sports such as football, basketball, baseball, ice hockey. That these kids grow up and they see these athletes on TV. And they want to play. Obviously MLR isn't quite in the shining lights yet, but it's getting there with more games on Fox, etc. But I think, you know, our youth organisations, if there's a time that they need support, it's over the next 2 to 3 years, and helping them really get the resources they need to develop their coaches, and in turn that will develop better players. I think there needs to be a huge emphasis on youth coach development. At the end of the day, they need to have the right tools in their back pocket to be able to give these young kids and ultimately make them fantastic rugby players and down the line. You know, I think that's a simple one for me, really.
Well, simple. Obviously, the keys is the youth, right? Like Project Moonshot, as Scott Lawrence likes to say. Our Eagles, we're in an interesting spot. Hey, we got two winnable games coming up for sure. Portugal, Spain, that Tonga game, like maybe we could win. Technically, if you look at the standings, we're below everybody. That Tonga game, I think we could win, but them Tongans, man, they know how to hit, right? Like, I mean, they know how to hit. They come out and they'll crush you. So, you know, the future is bright, but the future is young, right? It's this U20 teams right now that we really got to look after, that we really got to support, we really got to get going. And it's people like yourself, you know, helping grow these young players coming out of Massachusetts, out of New England, you know, Free Jacks. You know, I'm kind of biased because I'm from the Northeast. That's where I applied all my club rugby trades. So I'll talk shit on the rest of the country and tell you that the Northeast is the best, although, you know, I'll be honest, the Northeast isn't the best anymore. But, like, I tell you that next man we bring on, he played in the Northeast in that 16, 18, like that time frame. And, you know, sounds like it might be a good time for us to bring him in and get him going, because that is the man, Lance Kavanaugh, coming back. Lance, welcome to the show. We're going to go ahead, bring him in. Lance, we're talking about club rugby. We're talking about Northeast. Who, just flat out right now, who's got the best rugby in America right now in club game?
Well, it has to be the Northeast as a whole. It has to be just the Northeast. Midwest is always potent. Midwest is always strong. But thanks to the ARP especially, and so many of those Northeastern teams being incorporated in it, it's kind of hard to fight against it. Now, as a person who lives in the South, I would like to point out that the Gulf Coast has been winning all kind of club national championships. So give respect to the Texas and the Floridas of the world. But Northeast is king. And, you know, I'm still waiting for this emergence of California and the West Coast that I was told to fear when I first started playing rugby. I've yet to really see it to the level that I've seen from the Midwest and the Northeast. But,
I mean, I don't know, dude. That final with Belmont Shore, St. Louis Bombers, that was pretty good. That Belmont Shore team is pretty damn good.
Who won that? Who won that game?
I believe somebody from St. Louis might have won that. That might have been a Nick Feeks victory, right?
That was Midwest, right?
That was Midwest.
What about Sevens? Who won that one?
Oh man, well that don't count.
Oh, that don't count. Okay.
That don't count. You know that's the NAV
we keep
one.
It 15. let's keep it 15.
Let's keep it 15.
Respect.
Yeah,
who won the MLR? So anyway, like I was saying. What up, Wheels? How you doing, Wheels? You all right?
What's going on, player?
I'm good. Hey, sorry, fam. I'm sorry.
No, what do you mean? What are you sorry for, bro? This is your chance to come on, talk, all that other good stuff.
I'm just saying. I'm pointing out, you know, Free Jacks getting that W the way that they did, you know, completely ruining.
Don't apologize to me. Apologize to Pago, bro.
Nah, that's what I'm talking to. You know, I just want to let him know that this is real love and
Bro,
concern when these kind of things.
I just got over
the
loss, man. This is bring back so much memories and so much pain right now. I'm going through it all, man. Thanks for
the record.
I spent the last 2 months trying to get over that final, but now it's all coming back to me now.
For the record, I did the same thing when you won your back-to-back. I was bigging you up then. You got to take the good with the bad. I'm just saying. This is the great American rugby way.
Grateful.
All right. Well, hey, let's get into it. Before we get into like the down and dirty where everything sits, right? Like, let's go over club rugby, right? Like, let's talk about your best memory from club rugby. What was it that really stood out to you that like you're like, hey, like, you know, it could be this is what's great about club rugby, or you could be like, hey, there's this one game that we played and it was X, Y, and Z. So let's go ahead. Let's start with we got Lance in here. He's been quiet for a while, so let's go ahead. Let's start with Lance. Lance, give me your best club rugby memory, and if it's being on Next Level Rugby highlights, say that I'm cool with that too.
Yeah, I mean, I had a really good run against the Boston Wolfhounds. This one time on next level. Just that's a long time ago though. But no, my best memory was when I moved to Florida. I started playing with South Florida, and one of the players on the team passed away during the season, and the turmoil of that was enough. But then we had the playoff game literally a week after this was happening. So we had to travel all the way to Daytona, and the generosity of Daytona, they'd had a presentation. They presented one of their jerseys with his name and number on it, and it was just like great atmosphere of great, it was it's D4 Florida rugby. So it's not the greatest rugby, but just a reminder of what the community can do. And I was balling out that game. That's probably the best game I've played in a long. It's D4 Florida. Let me bring it back to reality. But that was the best game I had played up until that point, probably for the last like 4 years. So greatest memory is Daytona showing love, being able to show memory to a fallen soldier. And I went out there and balled out. You know what I mean? That's pretty much, yeah.
I'll buy it. I like that story. That's a good story. All right, Wheels, what about you, buddy? And you can reach all the way back to New Zealand if you got to, seeing as though you just put on the boots over here. But
I am.
If you're already making those, all right, go Wheels.
I'm into the New Zealand archives. Don't worry about that. I think the one thing I love about New Zealand, and America doesn't have a lot of them, is the club rooms after a game, right? I mean, I haven't come across too many club rooms here in New England. Obviously, we've got the ICC in Canton, which I love, but the club rooms after a game in New Zealand, it would have been my first year out of school, and I'd barely tasted a beer yet, obviously. So got down to the club rooms, and we were fortunate at our rugby club that we had a lot of All Blacks that had played for the club. The Southern Rugby Club, they're called, the Magpies. And basically, first game for the Magpies, got to jug scull and do a boat race with a bunch of All Blacks. Best memory for sure. Like, I was never a player that was going to light the world on fire, so for me the aftermatch was more important. So to be able to perform in the aftermatch and beat some All Blacks in a boat race, that would be the number one memory for me, Ginty.
All right. Pago, you be in any All Blacks in any boat races? I mean, you had Andy Ellis. You both smoked him. You have to be able to.
Really?
So when we won it, was it 2022?
22.
When New York won it? Yeah, 22. We went on a Mad Monday. It was like day 4. And then we had to split. We had the forwards versus the backs. So, and poor Andros was trying to rally up his backs, but they just couldn't get the job done for him. So, yeah, I could say a bit of All Blacks once in the boat race. So that's great story for me. But
you're just duplicating,
right? just copy and paste, bro. But I think my best club memory was probably my premier debut for my first ever club when I left high school. So I went to high school in Australia, and then I did my university down in Wellington. And I actually played for the university club, which is called Old Boys University. And then I was playing I was only like 19, so I was playing the second team, and pretty much playing there for half and most of the season. And then the premier team, which is the top side, they had some injuries. So they were like, after the game, after the second grade, so second grades will play just before the first grade or the premier. So after the game, they were like, oh, a couple of the guys won't be able to play today, so you're going to be on the bench for the premier side. As a 19-year-old kid, just finished high school, I was like, let's go. I was pumped. I was like ready to go. But for our club, we used to play at this. It's a nice cricket field, like a lot of history behind it in Wellington. So when you're driving around the city, the cricket pitch is literally right in the middle, kind of like in the middle of the city. So it's like a real nice facility and things like that. But only the top teams plays there. So the second team, we played a different field. So we were driving to the game, and I was like talking to my mate that was driving me, and we were just like chopping it up. And then we got to the field, and we were playing this club. It's called Oriental Rongotai. So if you're from around Wellington, it's probably the club that's produce or like most All Blacks recently. It was like we have Matanonu, Adi, the Sevilla brothers, and and Mark Reddish, all these old Hurricanes veterans. That's like their club. So here I am, and it was the Hurricanes bye week. So in the bye week, they usually be like, "Hey, you got to go play your local club to get your minutes up and things like that." So, man, I rocked up to the game because the first team will already be kicking off by the time we get there. So I get there, just they throw me the Premier jersey. I got it and I put on all the kids. I was chucking onto the field. I was excited. They already kicked off. So I was like sitting on the bench and I looked up and the whole Rongotai team was like half of the Hurricanes team. And I was like 19. I was shitting myself. They had so one of their props was a Hurricane prop, and then they had this guy Motu Matu'u. He was like an international player. They had Mark Reddish, who was a lock, and then they Artie will been too bit young at the time. He was still in high school, but they had Jules, they had Ma'a, and they had like all these guys that turned up, and they gave us an absolutely hard. So for me, I was like, man, I hope they only give me like 10 or 5 minutes just to get up, and then got on at even they smash us, but we had a good night afterwards. Got debut Chug down there, vomited all over the place, and that was pretty much my highlight of that's probably the best club memory I've had. So yeah, it's quite a story. But every time someone asks, best club rugby, I'm like, yeah, that's definitely have to like rock up to a 9 to 5 guy just rocking up to a rugby game, and then you're playing against All Blacks. So it was pretty surreal, and it was a good day.
All right, so my story after that is move on to the next segment. Damn, man, how the hell do I follow that? Like,
That's good.
I mean, like, how do I follow that one? But like. Okay, I'll talk
that's
about.
why we are teaching right now. We've got a lot of stories to tell.
Yeah, no. I played with Will. I played with Grease. Like, what's going on? But like when real talk though, like when I think of club rugby, like the things that I really like look back and I remember is just the goal line stands with my boys where we're like fronting up and just like smashing a couple people, like stopping it, like it's really like the memories with the mates and the people that you play with. That's what I really, really miss. Like I miss playing with my boys. I miss playing with my friends. I miss playing, just having that camaraderie and just more or less just being able to look over at the person next to me and knowing that person's going to put their body on the line for me. And I'm going to do the same thing with them. I'll say that probably one of my now that I'm thinking about it, one of the best moments I had playing club rugby, I was playing for Old Breed, and we were doing the DC broadcast back when DC was playing, I think, Shannon Irish and Old Glory. We had hosted a Honor Cup tournament, which was at Fort McNair. It was an awesome event. It was a bunch of military teams and some select side teams. Virginia Cardinals had a team there who was always a pretty good traveling side, putting it together. Simi Mawala was on that team that we were playing against. I think I was playing 10 or 12. And I remember I had played like old boys. I had played another thing. I had spent like 2 days like setting up, getting ready for the DC broadcast. And I mean, I was just absolutely shot and I was just like wiped. They're like, come on, Ginty, get ready. They pulled me into, I probably played it over 40s when I was like 37 years old. I shouldn't have been doing that, but whatever. And then they're like, I got to play that. I was tired. And then I was going into the game against the Virginia Cardinals. And that was a club game, right? And I was playing against a good side. And we're playing against a bunch of really good players just out of college. And this is Simi Mawala just post-college, I think, like 1 or 2 years post-college. And I'm just sucking wind, and I'm just sitting there, and I'm just thinking, oh, man, I'm feeling sorry for myself. And then I was playing with this guy, Alan McAllister. And so Old Breed, if you don't know Old Breed, it's a team, the jersey actually right there over my shoulder. It's a team that plays in honor of fallen soldiers. And Lieutenant Kevin Shea. Like, I don't know anybody that's on that banner. But I play for them, and I do have my friends that I play for when I go out there as well, too. But I just remember coming into the pregame huddle, I'm just sucking wind, feeling sorry for myself, and then I see Mac comes up, and he gives this speech. And he just gives this speech, just channels a different level of why we're there, who we're playing for, and what we're doing. And, like, I noticed on his forearm right here, he had Donald Lamar's name on it. And Donald Lamar is one of the guys that's on our banner. I know that name. I made a video. I've heard it a million times. And in that moment, I saw that. I heard him, and then I was ready to run through a fucking wall. And, I mean, that was probably like, we went out. I think we lost that game by like 2 points. It was a very close game. And that was like one of my favorite memories of like club rugby, to where I was like, that I actually played in, because I was just like, again, I was feeling sorry for myself, and I was just like, And then at that moment, like, he says that word, I see that, and I'm just like, nothing else fucking matters. I'm here, boys. Let's get up. Let's go. Let's party. Let's play. Let's get this going. But also, we'll talk about like another club memory that didn't involve me. That's probably the best memory I've ever had. I told Lance this story before. We were playing up at Saranac, and it was the first year I was doing a documentary for Old Breed. It was like literally the first time I'd ever met these dudes. I went up there with my camera. I'm sitting there, over 55's game, and I remember I'm sitting in the corner. All of a sudden, I hear medic, medic, medic. We run over there. Long story short, guy came off the field, told his team they're playing like a bunch of expletives, and then dropped right there. Like dropped. So we were doing compressions. We were doing CPR. We were trying to bring this man back to life. Fortunately, he fell where there was a bunch of medics. There was a bunch of people that knew what was going on. The ambulance was there. We basically took over the scene, worked the code. Unfortunately, Animal did not make it, and he was playing for Fathers and Sons. And it was a touring team out of Canada. So then they had teams all the way up to 55s to the premiers. Fast forward, this was on Friday night. He goes into this tournament, passes away playing rugby. You go to Sunday in the championships. It's now Fathers and Sons versus the Eastside Hyenas, which is basically the Detroit Tradesmen, who Lance hates. And these guys are playing, and Father and Sons is losing. And I remember I'm sitting in the dead ball. I have my camera out. I put it away. And I'm just watching this game happen, and Father and Sons are coming. Boom, they're hammering, they're hammering, they're hammering. They finally score. They win the game. And the guy who won the game was Animal's son, who was right there when he passed away. So, like, he loses his father. The team decides to play on because that's what Animal would want them to do, to play on. And then his son wins the game. And he's a Fort Lauderdale player, played for UCF. I don't know if he's still around, a good player. But that was like probably one of the best moments I'd ever seen in club rugby, right? And I mean, it's just where it's like that brotherhood, they're coming together, and it's just like, it's that one time I didn't pull out the camera and get it, but like I have that memory ingrained up here in my brain, and I mean, that's just like kind of club rugby, and that's just the power that this sport has. So moving on from that, like, let's go ahead.
Hold on.
Yeah, okay.
Wait a minute. Wait a second. The man passed away on the sideline, and they chose to play, and they won the tournament, and his son scored the game winner, and the kicker of that was against the Tradesman. Man, this is something we need to celebrate. We need to talk about this more often. I got to get to the bottom of that story. I got to meet the son. I gotta know more about this team.
Get to the bottom of it, Lance. Get out there.
We need a 60-minute special. 60-minute special of Lance Gavanna.
Just on the tradesman's face as they walked off the field after that loss to such a victorious. All right, I quit. Let me stop.
Yeah, what's unfortunate though is that the tradesmen keep winning that tournament. So it's like, I don't know if Elysium or there's any other team, Pago, you want to come out and play some rugby in the summer, come up to Saranac. It's quite lovely. And then now that they're shortening the season for MLR, it seems like, perfect time to get you involved.
I will say, Ginty, ever since I've moved to America, the word Saranac has been brought up about having one of the most incredible after parties or outside of rugby activities in the country. Obviously don't know much about that. I haven't made the trip up there, but can you enlighten me on what that might mean? In a PG manner.
In a PG manner. I don't think we can do it in a PG manner, but I will tell you, it's an experience. Like, it can be whatever you want it to be. The towns basically are taking over Lake Placid, Saranac, New York, picturesque, beautiful area. And it's just all rugby players. And I mean, you drive down, the lampposts have like welcome rugby players, welcome this. It's 120 something 15s teams, men's and women's, all different age. Everyone comes together, and it is literally a pilgrimage of rugby players from all over the country. The only over 35s division that might be better than this is maybe Aspen, right? And I mean, this over 35s at Saranac is legit. That's the best old boy rugby you're going to play, aside from maybe Aspen, right? Aspen's got like all the Eagles and the Ringers and Old Time and everybody that comes out for that. But it's a great rugby tournament. It's a great, I go there every year. I brought my wife, and her best friend up last year. They loved it. They're not, well, my wife's a former rugby player, her friend's not. They had a good time. I mean, I literally flew in for it was the 20th anniversary of Old Breed. I flew in for Friday morning. I stayed there all day Friday, woke up at 5:30, and then I drove to go meet Wheels for that New England semifinal game. What was that, the semifinals? You guys beat DC? No, you beat the Hounds.
Conference final.
You beat the Hounds. Yep. I remember I was there. I was watching. You guys beat the Hounds in that game. But yeah, I mean that's all good stuff. But we're getting long in the tooth here. Lance, go ahead and tell us a little bit about the Midwest American Rugby Premiership and where we sit in the college, or not college. I'm sorry. Well, college is for another show. But where we sit in the club rugby scene right now.
Well, let's start off with ARP. This year's ARP is probably the most unique that it's been since it started in 2015. Somebody check the year on that. Most teams, especially in the ARP, are full of MLR players. Charlotte has 17. Life has 6. And I'm talking about on a current roster, signed right now. Charlotte 17, Life 6. Miami has 2. Mystic has 9. Nyack has 3. Old Blue has 11. White Plains, who are currently in the driver's seat to take the ARP, have 5. And it's crazy how the ARP is shaping out this year, right? Mystic River is done playing, but they're at the top of the list. But they only have a lead of 2 points from White Plains. So White Plains, with 2 games left, wins one of their next 2 games, they're in the final. Their next game, though, is against Old Blue, who is currently in 3rd place. If Old Blue wins against White Plains this weekend, they are in the final. Mystic basically has to hope that White Plains wins this week in order for them to solidify themselves in the final. It is literally coming down to the absolute end. Now, this is the beautiful part for White Plains. They got to win one of their next 2 matches. Their second match, after playing against Old Blue, win, lose, or draw, is against the Miami Tridents, who are at the bottom of the table. White Plains literally has to win 1 game out of the next 2 to make the ARP final. And that just lays out exactly how crazy this year is. White Plains, with 5 MLR players, are in the driver's seat to win the ARP against Old Blue, who has close to a dozen. It just shows that the discrepancy in talent and what can happen if teams play together, find their rhythm early. And this is probably the best ARP season I've seen. And this is coming from somebody who played in it. I think this is the most entertaining year we've had.
Yeah, so before my surgery, I've been going out and have a little run around with the Seattle Augers boys. So honestly, I don't really know much about like the. This sounds so bad, but I actually don't really know much about like the landscape of club rugby up in the Pacific Northwest. But from what I'm hearing at training is that they play 2 competitions. So with the Seattle Orcas, they'll play, I think, a D1 down here with the Pacific Northwest clubs, but then they'll go and play with another competition in Canada, where they'll be playing like all the Canadians teams and stuff like that. So I think they got like two seasons that runs parallel to each other. So I'm a Nyack guy, by the way. So. Proud, the pride of New York City, the Yak. So representing red. Yeah, disappointing how we went this year, but we're rebuilding right now. AC will be back on the top soon, very soon. Maybe next year. You'll never know.
Much to Lance's dismay, let me tell you, like right there, you just killed it, man. You were one of Lance's heroes. And then you said that, and it's just shot to the heart, man. It's all over. Like
he's an old blue guy. He's an old blue through and through, like thick in his blood. But hey, I'm sorry, man. I just had to go with the red machine all day.
I think he taking shots at me for what happened earlier. All right, let's move on, because Nyack isn't really irrelevant to my ARP conversation right now. So I'm just
bro.
No point in
hey.
Give Nyack a shout out. You gave every team a shout out beside Nyack.
Well, you know why he didn't give Nyack a shout out, because like Next Level Rugby and Seamus Kelly might have posterized Lance on. Like, I mean, Lance, I tried finding that picture, and you were lucky. It is fucking gone. But it is like folded,
It's somewhere
Seamus
out there.
Kelly,
It's
fully Lance,
somewhere out there.
feet up the other side, like stiff arm, got him on the sideline, like Seamus
I need
Kelly.
to
Like,
see this.
It's bad.
I
It's
mean,
bad.
I've
It's bad.
spent time looking for this thing, and I can't find it, unfortunately. Good for Lance.
Good for me.
Good for Lance.
for me.
Good for Lance, but
Good
not good for
for
the
me.
rest of us.
All right, let me make my excuses now. Okay, what happened was, what happened was,
What happened
he
was
got me. Hey, he got me. That's pretty much it. Like, hey, listen, you play rugby long enough, you play on high levels, you go after it, you put your body on the line. Eventually, you're gonna end up on your back. It's just what it is. And I ended up upside down, horizontal. Also, and this how you know you get cooked. If something happened to you, you get cooked. You hustle really hard to make sure they don't score. So I got cooked. I got up, and then I intentionally knocked the ball like a face later, just so they'd kill it. Just so they'd kill the ball. You know, because if they cook me and then they score, that's a highlight that lives on forever. But if I just get cooked, it's just a 2-second segment. Nobody talks about it again. You got to think smart, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, most importantly, who won that game?
Game IQ.
Who won that game? Oh, did they win? Oh, I'm sorry, man. I was trying to throw you a bone.
Yeah, they won.
I just buried you again.
No, that's good. I ain't worried about that. It happens. You know
Yeah.
Listen, I lost that game once that happened. The score was irrelevant. I knew that for the history, for the next 10 years, through the echoes of time, I'm going to be laid out horizontal like I'm planking. And mind you, I was playing incredible defense that entire game. You put that one picture up, you would think I was just a speed bump for everybody. It's bad. Let's move on.
Move on. Okay, hey, I got something good to move on to. Let's get it started right now. Let's talk about some pop culture and what's happening right now. Go Low Go. Alona Mar is absolutely changing the game right now. And, I mean, they're Dancing with the Stars. It's exciting. It's great. You know, not only did the women's team go out and win bronze, which, like, was just amazing. Now you got Lo out there, and she is bringing viewers to Dancing with the Stars, right? Like, we talk, everyone's like, oh, well, everyone knows about rugby now because of Dancing with the Stars, but, like, I know about Dancing with the Stars, and I'm hooked. Like, me and my wife are hooked. What do we do on Tuesday nights? We're tuning into Dancing with the Stars, and I tell you, like, it's a beautiful thing, like, and I feel silly saying this, that it took me so long to get this, but, like, it's human performance, right? Like, when you see somebody do a good dance and they're going out there and they're crushing it, it's like, that's what you want to see. It's the same thing you see on a rugby pitch. It's the same thing you appreciate about any other sports. It's like athletes and people at the top of their game going out there and actually beasting and having a good show. And I mean, Dancing with the Stars it's awesome. If you see right here, I stole this, this is votes for Low right there, but what do we got to say about this? And I mean, what it actually does for the sport and where we go from here, and like, what is this going to do for the sport?
Oh, it's huge, Ginty. I mean, as you said, there's only been 3 shows on in my household. Number 1 is The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. What a show. Number 2, Dancing with the Stars. And then number 3, shout out Matt McCarthy, MLR Weekly, the Rugby Rundown as well, watching that. But some great rugby shows out there. But, mate, she's done fantastic things. Like, how good to have one of our nation's rugby players up there on a pedestal with, Class A celebrities. I think she's been on the cover now of Sports Illustrated. She's got all of these brand ambassador campaigns. But it's genuinely giving a young player in this country something to aspire and look up to. And as corny and as cheesy as that sounds, like, that's the honest truth. It's drawing new fans to this game day in, day out by watching Dancing with the Stars, and then obviously the amount of attention that the Olympics got and the bronze medal, and Alona's just carried on her own little individual campaign from that success, and she's a TikTok superstar. Like, whenever I go on TikTok, it's no longer, what's the best food in the North End? It's Alona Mar, and it's wonderful to see. So I think it's huge for the game. Look, Pago, maybe you're next on Dancing with the Stars. Who knows? We're going to get to that a little bit soon, but I think there's maybe a career change for you.
Oh man, if you have to go to the Dancing with the Star, we have to pretty much go through everyone before you get to me. Dancing skills. So growing up, my family, they're very talented, right? So they all can sing, they all get dance. we grew up in a church, and usually when we do family items and stuff, my siblings will usually tell me to like hide in the back. So when we do items and stuff, so there was 5 of us. Usually there'll be 4 at the front with my 3 sisters and 1 brother, and then I'll be right at the back, just like holding a prop or something like that for the skit that we're doing. So if we have to come to me to go represent us in the Dancing with the Star, I'll do my best. But I don't
That's
think
all
I'll
you
be
can do. That's all we want.
I
think
don't
I'll be
I don't know
any
if,
vote anytime soon, lads. So yeah. But
yeah,
on is her name Aloha or Iloa?
Alona.
Ilona.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can just go low for short. That way, keep it. You don't have to get it messed up. But Wheels, to that comment, I don't know if they ever came up with the show called Run It Straight. Pago's a shoo-in, right? Like Pago gonna run it up the straight. He's gonna take the ball. He'll do it. But like if you got to get him going left to right, I mean, I had never seen Pago go left to right on a rugby pitch.
That's very true. That is very true.
I don't know. That's a dangerous sport.
You did just get ankle surgery as well, so we do need to be careful.
Yeah, so I think I might have to start doing those. Yeah.
Alona Mar has changed the perception of how we see rugby for a lot of people. Like how we see it is this beautiful game. I see it as like this giant chess game with moving pieces. She turned it into there is somebody who is like goddess level playing it. Little girls are gonna see her playing this game, see how she represents herself, see how she dances, the success she's having on Dancing with the Stars. You know, I'm expecting, this is me being very pessimistic, but she'll be there for 2 weeks or whatever. No, she's an athlete. She figured it out. She's getting rave reviews. She has a supportive rugby community. And even more so, it's just one of those things I think in 10 years, we're going to look back like, y'all remember when Alona Mar was on Dancing with the Stars and now she's the #1 box office movie, you know, like leading actress. Like I see it like this is the kind of thing that lends itself to that. Like she needs to be in movies. She needs to be in like We Are the World remake. She needs to be one of the choir people singing in that. Like she's proven herself to kind of be somebody that showcases what we want from rugby people in the world to see. And we need people and storylines to grow our game. She is a mix of both of those, you know what I mean, and perfect sync, you know, perfectly synced.
Yeah, I think fly low, fly, right? Like I think it's and we've had this conversation, Lance, to where you've talked about like social media and how like you got hammered back in the day when you were doing social media and your coaches thought that maybe you weren't paying attention to rugby and you weren't doing that. And I'm telling you, I'm hearing people out there that are saying, you know, oh, well, does she want to be the best rugby player in the world? Does she want to do this? Well, shut the fuck up. Let her fucking go. Shut the fuck up.
Oh, the F-bomb.
Like, there
Yes.
it is. I'm sorry. I saved it for a good time. I'm just tired of hearing people say this. Right?
Swear jar, get the swear jar going.
Yeah. There it is, right? But, like, seriously, like, I mean, come on, man. Like, this is a moment for American rugby. This is a moment for girls rugby. Like, let's be honest. Women's rugby is, like, it is the next thing to blow up. Like, it is. It is. Women's rugby has the growth potential of anything, and Lowe is leading the charge out there. And if we have to have that ambassador, like Lance, you said, like, you want her in movies, you want her in this, like, yes, do it all, right? Like, can you imagine her as like Conan, right? Do like a female version of her just like going out and just like slaying demons or doing like that. Like, I mean, all of it's there, right? Like action star, like I mean, Gina Carano did it with Disney, right? Like, I mean, it's like all these different parallels, and then now you're in the ABC, you're in the Disney world. I mean, I don't know if you guys watched last night, but I did. It was Disney night last night, and I mean, the laterals and the parallels and all this stuff. So, yes, Lance, you are right. This transcends rugby by so many levels, and it is so important for the game. It's so important, you know, for us, right? And for, I think, American rugby in general. And then more importantly, like, it's important for her. Right? Like, I mean, she's put in a lot of hard work. She's done this. Like, nobody did this for her. It is 100% her. Yeah. And, you know, like, shout out to her bringing her family along. Her sister's her manager. Her father's up there, who actually, her father coached the original co-founder of Next Level Rugby, who I started this with, Charlie. Her father coached him and taught him how to play rugby. So, I mean, it's like, you know, it's Vermont strong, you know, Vermont will survive. And Lo, keep taking us to the heights. Keep doing it, girl, because, like, I mean, I am, like, yeah, we're all pumped and everyone's got your back. And anybody that says anything about you, go fuck yourself, because that's all I got to say about that.
There's 3 F's.
There's 3. Okay, that's all I got to do going in there. That's all I got out of there. Anybody else got anything else to say on that?
Nah, go live.
Xena Princess Warriors.
Great, no?
Yeah.
Xena, you said Conan remake. What's it? Xena Princess Warrior. Y'all remember that?
Yep.
Oh,
That would be the perfect role. The perfect role for her. I'm just saying. Throwing that out into the universe.
We do need a woman Terminator. Arnold Schwarzenegger's had his. What about the woman Terminator? She could be perfect.
I'd be down with that. Bazooka launching stuff.
Right. Is there a woman role?
Yeah, She-Hulk.
She-Hulk.
Listen, Lo is big, but she not like She-Hulk big. Like, we still got to give her some, like, she can be like Wonder Woman's like mom in like a preteen story. Yeah. That'd be like perfect, you know what I mean? But you ain't got to make her like some, you know what I mean? She not, you see it on the swimsuit. She wasn't, overly yoked, you know what I'm saying? She just built like a rugby player.
All we want to see is, we want to see her just absolutely like beating the shit out of things, people. Monsters, aliens, whatever, aliens, right? Like save the world, do whatever you want, right? Like get that. But all right. So pop culture, I think we kind of beat that one to death. Let's go ahead now, and I want to kind of pull this out. And I have a couple things to where we're going to do this new thing. It's called Devil's Advocate. I'm going to be the judge. All right. We have Lance is going to have first pass at these topics. They don't know what the topics are. They don't know what's going on, but he gets the first thing, and he gets to argue: is it good? Is it bad? And then Wheels and Pago are going to have to debate him, regardless if they agree with Lance or not. They're going to have to debate him. All right, we ready for this, guys?
Let's go, boys. Let's go.
Okay. So the first one we're going to go to, and we're going to go in here, Lance. So, like, take your time. Ready? Here it is. All right, Devil's Advocate, the new tackle height law. Is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? Lance? You're on the clock.
Oh, this is because I have to make a decision. This is a bad thing. The only way that it can be good is if we're talking about youth. Stop. And I'm talking like U16, not even necessarily U19. The tackle height, where it is now, which is the sternum, shoulder, where the armpit meets, that leaves room for you to actually be able to hit somebody, the ball carrier to protect himself. I think that we've stepped too far into, I ain't gonna say too far into safety, but a lot of the rules that's been created over the last couple of years have been incentivized to speed the game up and add safety to the game. But the heart and soul of what we love about rugby is that danger essence, that you better make sure you protect yourself when you run into traffic. You better do all the steps that you need to do to keep from getting your head twisted off. The idea that we're going to keep lowering the tackle height is basically going to make it to where soon we're going to be playing flag rugby and you can't tackle anybody and you must hug them and ask for permission before you do it. The tackle height isn't egregious like in the 80s and 90s where they head tackling. Where we have it right now is the perfect medium of safety and intensity, and changing it further is leading us into a very different game.
All right, Pago, argue why the new tackle height is a good law to add.
Hey, safety. I think the last couple of years in World Rugby, we've just been talking about safety. We talk about safety, but we're not really doing anything to protect the players. So, I get the everything that comes with it, but if we don't protect your main asset, which is the players, there's going to be no game for us in the future. So, we would rather take precautions of like lowering the high tackles than keep losing players and losing interest in playing the game. So that's just my devil's advocate opinion. Pango's opinion doesn't really matter right now. It's a very good new law change that they're bringing in. Player safety first. Players safety.
All right, I got to say, well played there, Pago. Well played there. The man can lie. Clearly, we just saw it here. I'm gonna have to side with Lance on this one solely because he picked the way I believe with it. Like I do think it's the biggest thing that's gonna happen with this now is you're gonna put the referee at risk, right? Like more than anything, because now the referee already has so many decisions that they get crucified for. Now you're going to have to go high tackle, low tackle. And I played this past summer under the new rules. And it was funny, though, because like I looked at one of my boy Andy Ives and I was like, yeah, bro, that was a high tackle even under the old laws. Like, because he went into it, he just smoked a dude. And I was like, yeah, that was that. But it is difficult, like, right? Like, I mean, I got dinged for a high tackle. It is. I saw like a video the other day of, say players going low, are we going to actually get more hip on hip? Are we going to get more head into knees with this contact? Is it going to be better for the players overall? I mean, I don't know. We'll see. I think it's difficult. And then, I mean, are we going to do what Pro Rugby did? And I mean, Doug Schoeniger, like, you can say whatever you want about the man, but like he actually put like a line across the jersey. And so like Pro Rugby actually had a line on the jersey that showed you where you had to tackle, made it easier for the ref. I just think that this is going to make this wicked hard to like adjudicate as a referee and know when the tackles are coming. And is that really worth it? But to your point, right? Safety. But more than the tackle height, maybe we just play on grass.
Safety.
Player safety, guys.
Player safety. All right. Let's move on to number 2. All right, and this one's going to be for wheels, and we're going to bring this up, and we're going to go with World Cup in the U.S.
Ooh.
All right, so Rugby World Cup 2031 in the USA. Should it happen or should it not happen? Go, Lance.
Ooh. I'm going to play devil's advocate in the middle of devil's advocate.
Oh.
I think that it should not. It should not be. The World Cup should not be here in 2031. Now I'm gonna do the same product. These aren't Great American Rugby, but let me be for real, straight up. After seeing the showing of Rugby League in Vegas and how massively packed that was and how filled out that was, we will have to lean a lot on foreigners to make our games in the United States look like a packed stadium. If you go off of sevens, if you go off of maybe not versus Scotland, because that was pretty well packed, but LA recently had an international match with the USA, empty stadium. Whenever these matches that's been happening, especially in some of these bigger cities, we've been finding that the stadiums have been less than filled, unless we're playing the All Blacks. But if you have and you could just name 2 teams that are meeting the World Cup, France or whatever, there won't be many Americans. It'll be people from all over the world. It's not about the expansion of rugby in America. This would just be a profit grab, and I'm not sure it'll necessarily work out into the advantage that we need to as far as maximizing and growing the game. I think it's wasted energy and wasted thought because we have a lot more steps that we have to go as a nation and as a rugby country before we thinking about hosting. We don't have the culture and we don't have the infrastructure of rugby built up in a way to host such a massive tournament in those regards.
Good, you've set me up for success here, Lance. I like it. I'm glad. I'm all for it being here. Like, gee, that's why I'm still in America right now. Like, that's the ultimate goal for me personally, is like to be involved with that. World Cup's the pinnacle of our game. Whether or not America's ready to host it, that's certainly the $1 million question. But there's one thing for sure, is that America knows how to do sports, and they know how to do sports very well, particularly from an entertainment point of view. I went to the Cricket World Cup here this year in America, which is obviously a different code, and it's an unfamiliar code in this country. And the way they rolled out those games and those events throughout, New York, and I think they played in Florida and Texas, I thought was phenomenal. And they catered to a different population. I think New York in particular had a lot of the Indian and Sri Lankan population that got in behind it. And if I look at somewhere like Boston, for example, if we've got a large Irish contingent that I think would massively get in behind a World Cup. That's just using Massachusetts, but. Yeah, I do agree with you on some points, Lance. I think we're not ready. If we were to have the World Cup here tomorrow, we would not be ready. And I think the next 6-7 years before 2031, the men's, and 33, the women's, are extremely critical. I think Major League Rugby needs a brilliant TV deal. I think that's on the wish list. If we can get all of our games on Fox Sport and on mainstream media day in, day out for Americans to see how great this game is. You know, they go to a bar and the first thing they see is a replay of Major League Rugby instead of lacrosse or instead of pickleball, which is taking over the planet, and I hate it. You know, we need rugby on our TV screens. But I think, you know, I've got no doubt in my mind that America will roll out an entertaining product, and fans, whether or not they know rugby or they've known rugby for a day or they've known it for 10 years, will be able to enjoy a really good sporting event. So, but yeah, I think, you know, I did see an article come out recently that there's a potential new chairman of World Rugby that may be against having the World Cup in America. I did see that article, and that's obviously a concerning thing to see in the media, because I feel like all of our time, energy is so focused towards delivering two great events in 31 and 33. You know, and if we wait another 10 years, you know, what's going to happen to MLR, or what's going to happen to the professional game if we just keep delaying it? I think, you know, strike while the iron's hot. The Eagles are on the path, the Apollo mission, and you know, we need to get behind them.
All right.
Can I throw in a half nugget real quick?
Go right ahead, Lance.
Just a baby nugget. When the cricket tournament happened, it was the T20 Cricket World Cup happened here, right?
Yeah.
Guess what host country made it out of group stages though?
Americans.
I don't want us to have this big tournament and we play our 4 games and we watch the rest. That's another thing. But I don't mean to add to yours. Go ahead, Ginty. My bad.
Well, it's good. The Americans did fantastic on home soil. Like, they beat the Black Caps, which are a fantastic team. I mean, you know,
right?
It could be. We could be on something.
Can we be the top 5 team as a host nation? I'm just asking.
Ooh.
Ask me that question in 2030. Like, get to me in 2030, and then like ask me that question in 2030.
We'll rain check it.
Hey, but I mean, real talk here though, right? Like,
in 2030.
real talk here though, right? Like, this is the thing that I think that's been missing from American rugby, and like what we really need to kind of get to is that we need to have an objective, we need to have a stated goal, and we need to have a fucking mission. That's number 4. We need to have a mission that says what we're going to do, where we're going to go, and where we want to be. And we have not had that until this year. Right, Project Gemini, which is coming off right now, right? Like, is Operation Moonshot or whatever we're calling it, right? It's Operation Moonshot. Like, you have to be bold, you have to believe, you have to want to go after, you have to get it, right? And if you do that, that will get people motivated. And I think that's what's been lacking from the U.S. national team, right? And maybe this is us talking about it that are outside the U.S. national team, right? So maybe they've had that and they've been doing it and they just haven't been external about it. But now that it's external, that we have a mission set, that we have an objective, that we have something that the team is going for, then I think that, like, you know, there's possibility, right? Can we get out of group stage? That's what we need to. We have never gotten out of group stage in every World Cup that we've ever been to. You know what place we finished in the pool? 4, to match my F-bombs, right? It's been 4 times that they're fourth place out of 4 teams throughout each of it. Out of 5.
We just beat Russia one time, like 3 World Cups ago. The rest of them we get blanked.
Yeah, and I mean, and it's unfortunate, but I mean, it is where it is. But so I'm gonna actually step out of this. Like, Pago, you've been sitting there. You're the man in the middle now. You get to adjudicate who wins.
I feel like it's 2 very great points. I think I wanted to hop in with this and saying that, especially after like staying in America for almost 10 years now and I was reading something the other day how Major League Soccer, they actually started years before, and Major League Soccer MLS actually didn't take off until they hosted the World Cup. So I think there's like a bit of both. I have to go with Wills here because I think for me having the tournament here will expose the sport to avenues that Major League Rugby can get to. You know, we can talk about Major League Rugby, which is the highest standard of rugby we could get to in America, but World Cup is like the pinnacle of the sport. And I think having the World Cup here where people get to, even if the Eagles doesn't make it in, where people get to actually see the highest of level, and then they'll be like, okay, that's the kind of pro that we want. So I have to go with Wales just because I think even if we don't do well heading into the World Cup, but personally, I think post the World Cup is where the true success of that event it's going to be judged. It's either going to be, damn, we have all these billionaires coming in now, loving the product. I'd be like, hey, have this, spend it as much as you want, and that's what we're aiming for. But so, Wills, I'm with you on this one. Sorry, Lance. I feel like we're really enemies today.
Yeah, today we
Yeah.
ain't getting.
You two have a car park
can I
lot
put-
fight to
Haven't
settle.
seen you in a while,
Can I
Lance.
put in an appeal? Can I put in a small appeal? But after you laid out your decision, Judge, I agree with your decision. I'm fine with your decision. I do want to lay out a small appeal, though. One of the things I've stood on for a number of years is the elevation of the game of rugby in the United States is going to come from the women. We've seen a bit of that with the bronze and sevens. That's a big step in the process. And the reason I thought that was because I seen the same thing happen in 2009, or excuse me, 1999 with the women's soccer team. They had to win a World Cup though, so there's some truth in what you're saying. But I think that our success, because we became a better soccer nation once those women, Mia Hamm and all those ladies showed up and handled business. That's when we became one of those nations soccer-wise where people had to respect us. The men made the quarterfinals the next World Cup, or yeah, I believe like 6 years after that, made the Q finals for the World Cup after that. I think it's from the women. But hey, if the moonshot means we make it the quarterfinals of a home tournament, I stand here and be wrong. We come back 5 years later and be like, "Hey, Lance, remember you said this?" I'm happy to be wrong.
I'm gonna make
this video right here.
I'm gonna make a bold prediction here. I think in the next 3 to 4 years, the USA will tip up one of the juggernauts, whether that be Scotland, England, All Blacks, Wales. I think Australia. I think the USA can do it.
Well,
Can I ask a question?
Well, no, you can't ask a question yet because I'm going to shoot you down, Lance, because that was a great rebuttal and that was a great thing that you had. But nobody's questioning whether or not we should have the 2033 Women's World Cup here. We should. It was, should the Men's Cup be here? So you had a great rebuttal about the women, but 100%, I agree. Like the 2033 World Cup should not be within question. Like, I mean, that 100% should be here. We should be having it. That's not up for debate. Some of the things that I'm hearing about the 2031 World Cup is that France is refusing to play and change the playoff window, right? So what would that mean? That would mean that we would have a World Cup in America when we have what going on? The largest sporting fucking league in the world, the NFL. And then what else do you have going on? You have college football, right? So you're talking about having a Rugby World Cup that would, in my opinion, would have to be moved to the summer. You can't play during the NFL. You cannot play during college football because, number one, stadiums, you need the stadiums, you need the space. But then number two, you're just not going to have the attention, right? Like nobody's going to care about rugby when you got football. Like football stops. You go into an airport and it was like I was flying back from France and I sat in the like lounge watching everybody on their thing and everybody had on their game they were watching the NFL. Like everybody on a Sunday, right? So like unless World Rugby is willing to move the schedule to either a spring or a summer World Cup, which the French don't want to do, and this new guy that you're talking about, Wheels, coming in is a Frenchman, right? Like that's potential chairman of the board. So that is
LA.
Yeah, so that might be something to where I just see as a roadblock. But Lance, go ahead. What you got?
Your bold prediction. Wheels had a bold prediction. He said the United States would tip over a juggernaut. Our most recent juggernaut was Scotland, and that was, close to 6 years ago,
2018.
7 years ago.
2018,
Yeah, so 6 years ago. And that team that Scotland brought over was their C team, in effect, right? It wasn't their A side, which they would take to a World Cup, play quarterfinals. It wasn't their B side, which they'll take to the Six Nations. It was a team that was a step below that, and we beat them. Which juggernaut are we going to beat, and which level team is that juggernaut? Because it's not going to be the All Blacks number 1 or 2, 3, 4 team, right? It's not going to be South Africa's 1 through 3 team. So we like England's
we
second
team. We got to catch
team.
Wales. No, you got to catch Wales.
Yeah. Italy's second team,
Yeah.
Italy's first team. Like, if we beat a juggernaut, will it be the juggernaut prepped and ready for war, or would it be a juggernaut preparing for some other big tournament that they treat more serious or to develop their younger guys. You know what I mean? Because we'll come in
Yeah.
there with our A side. We'll bring the team that will play game 1 opening match of the World Cup, and then they'll bring in their U20 reserve players. And so like what team, like when we beat a juggernaut, who would it be?
I hear
Or
you,
how
mate,
would it
but I
be?
mean, if you're playing the All Blacks, you're playing the All Blacks. We don't call it All Blacks A, B, or C. For me, it's I get you, but if you're playing that nation, then you're playing that nation, and if you beat them, you beat them.
Well, I tell you what, this All Blacks team may be taking some lickings right now, but in a year and a half, and I said this to Richie Walker, ain't nobody beating the All Blacks in a year and a half. Like, I mean, that team's going to become a buzzsaw, like, pretty soon. So it ain't going to be the All Blacks we're going to beat. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, I think the Eagles did great against Scotland this year as well. Like, Scotland and DC were pretty much were near on full strength. And, obviously they lost comfortably in the end, but they certainly showed lots of promise, which I thought was good signs.
Yeah, I'd argue that too. Yeah. Go ahead, Pago.
I think Wales is going to be our first victim. And then England, and then Ireland. I think we're gonna go conquer the north first. We're gonna fly over there with our wings, conquer the north, because
speaking like
just across the Atlantic Ocean, so we need to go over there, conquer those guys, and then maybe we'll fly down south. Maybe tip up the Wallabies first, and we'll talk about the ABs and the Springboks after that. But I think Wales is right here. Now that the competition, especially with Major League now, is like, what, 6 year? And pretty much all the boys that in the Eagles now compared to what previous years is like, you only maybe get like 2 or 3 or 4 guys playing in Europe come, and most of the guys will be club amateurs, club rugby guys that only trains twice a week. But now with Major League, pretty much everyone in that squad now, or everyone that's selected in the Eagles, are all professionals. So I think once we get like a foundation and stuff, I think with how Scott Lawrence coaches teams and like that thick skin, like you got a bar up kind of mentality, I think they're definitely we're gonna start tipping some people over in the next couple of years for sure.
Coaching wise, we got one of the best. I'm not denying. Like, of everybody that's coached the United States since I started watching rugby and being a rugby player, this is the most confidence I have in the head coach where we sit right now. Boom. But it wasn't that long ago that those same amateurs that was only practicing or playing 2 days a week were going out and winning competitions, right? Now, the world has stepped up its scale. That has a lot to do with it. But we weren't losing to Canada for real. We weren't losing to Uruguay. We weren't losing to Chile. We weren't losing, you know what I mean? We were beating Tonga. We were showing up and competing against teams that have names, and we had amateur guys. Now we have professionals, and we had some slippage. I want to see where that adjustment is made, but I think MLR took the steps to fix it because they started actually, being concerned about the national team, and that was really the only way to get Great American Rugby on board. But I don't. Japan is like I think in the next 5 years, our biggest win is going to be against Japan. It's going to be against Fiji.
Nice.
Maybe.
I like that.
Yeah, but juggernauts, you're talking Six Nations, you're talking rugby championships.
Yeah, I'm standing by it.
I'm with you. Hey, if you're right, I'm happy. I'm happy if you're right.
We will be right, lad. We will be right.
Yeah, so let me change that. On that note, making it in America, chase your dream, baby. Let's dream, right?
Yeah.
Dream
Land
big, right? You got to dream big when you get into it. But I mean, we could chop this up forever. I think that one of the things that we're kind of running short here, and we got to talk your shit. But a little nugget for next time, like, let's talk about this Anthem team maybe next episode. And are we going to call them USA Rugby 2.0? Because they've made some big signings. They've got some great players there. And it looks like Anthem's stacking up. And is Anthem going to be the team that drives American Rugby and gets us on the front foot and beating some of these juggernauts? I don't know. We'll discuss that next time. But the last one we got to go over real quick is let's go ahead and let's talk your shit. All right, Lance, go ahead. Whatever's on your mind, whatever you want to say, the floor is yours. Talk your shit.
Midwest D1 is coming to an end. We have a great D1 quarterfinal, semifinal, and Midwest championship. Let's just go through it a little bit. The Tradesmen are playing the Kansas City Blues. Say something nice about the Tradesmen. I will. Tradesmen are going to win. That's just my prediction. Chicago Griffins versus Metro. Great game. Griffins are going to win that. St. Louis Bombers versus Pittsburgh. Bomb away. Chicago Lions versus Cincinnati Wolfhounds. It's the Lions. But how it matches up and how it will end up being, there's a neutral game site in the semifinals after that, which means that we might see a dethronement of St. Louis. We might have an opportunity to see teams like the Lions make it to that show because they've been waiting to get there. We might have situations where the Tradesmen, the Detroit Tradesmen might win the Midwest. Oh, the world is coming to an end in a smolder. Oh, my goodness. I didn't see that coming. But the Midwest is happening. Next Level Rugby will be handling the production. You might see one of yours truly on the microphone. I'm going to be watching very intently. D1, Midwest. I'm excited for it. Boom.
Wheels, talk your shit.
Oh, that's hard to beat. No, look, I'll go for the inspirational talk, Ginty. If you're a kid out there, I was in a Rhode Island school today, 102nd school I've been to in the past 2 years here in America. And you can see the kids, like these are all kids that have never touched a rugby ball before. And once they throw it around, they give it a kick, they give it a pass, and they run with it in their hands, they see the power that the sport possesses. And if there are any kids out there that are on the fence or not quite sure whether to give this great game a go, give it a nudge. Like, just step outside of your comfort zone and just give it a try. Like, there were kids down here in Rhode Island today that are currently playing football, and they were like, how do I get into rugby? How do I get involved with this? And to be honest, like, the answer was not there yet because, there's no rugby set up in that area. So we need to also make sure we're doing our part administratively to make sure there's opportunities for kids to play rugby. But if it's an hour away or if it's 30 minutes away, you have to drive to give this great game a go. I suggest you give it a try because it could change your life. And I feel like we need more and more kids playing this game on a daily basis. We need more Lance Kavanaghs running around there. We need more Pago Hainis running around there causing havoc. So get involved with the great game of rugby union.
Pago.
Man, I'll go talk shit all day if I want to. But I think with what I've been through in the last couple of weeks, especially with my surgery and that, I'm going to talk about a little bit about like just mental health and things like that, where like if anyone's out there, just, life at the moment has been pretty tough. Either you're a rugby player, mostly rugby players, if you're out there, just reach out to your mate. Last month was, mental health day and things like that. So especially with the rugby and things like that, people kind of look in and see that, it's a tough sport for everyone, but, we don't know what everyone's going through. So, reach out to your mate. You can talk shit to your mate about it, have a conversation. Go out for a beer, go out for a cold brew or coffee or things like that. Slide in the DM, have a conversation and, get our minds right. Get our chickens right, man. Get our chickens right, as Marshawn said the other day. So that's my share for today, boys.
All right. Well, hey, that was your first episode of the Unhinged Rugby Show. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for coming in and getting involved here. I want to thank Lance Kavanaugh joining us on our inaugural ship. You are a plank owner of this podcast, videocast, whatever you call it. We'll call it a show. But this is definitely not going to be the last time you see Lance. Pago, Wheels, thanks for coming on. This is something new that we're getting started. We're gonna pump out the socials a little bit more, maybe give you more than a 48-hour heads up that we're gonna be doing this podcast. But that's it. Let's get a little bit, just a little bit longer, right? We got a lot to talk about. Club rugby's coming up. We got Major League Rugby 2025 around the corner. We'll table that for a little bit of a discussion a little bit later. Women's professional rugby. I mean, what is not to like about what is coming up, right? 2025 is going to be a banner year for rugby in America. Maybe we get some equal wins on the way there. That's coming up here in November as well, too, right? Let's go, boys. Let's get that going. But hey,
Guilty.
Yeah, this was your first episode ever, Unhinged Rugby, on Next Level Rugby Live. Stay tuned. We'll be back next week. Peace.